Now, one major thing that has been very exciting about the Ahsoka Tano series is how one of the set pieces that were used on set for, of course, the show heavily involved a Jedi temple, with the character of Ezra Bridger being involved by, of course, Iman Esfandi. By the way, he is the new Ezra Bridger in live-action form, along, of course, with having a scene with Sabine Wren, Hera Syndulla, Ahsoka Tano, all in a circle looking down upon something very specific. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, there is one thing that Jon and Dave are fully invested in, and that is, of course, giving us the perfect Ezra Bridger, the perfect Ahsoka Tano, along with Sabine Wren and Hera Syndulla in the Ahsoka Tano series. And one thing that a lot of fans have been very much looking forward to is exactly how this show is going to be executed, how it's going to be utilized, and how it's really going to compare to the other Star Wars shows. And by the way, this is said to be the home run, quote-unquote, of Star Wars TV shows on Disney+, and I think that's why a lot of fans, including myself, am looking forward to this one by far the most out of all of them. Now, on top of this, alright, we have been getting a lot of teases from Jon and Dave, a lot of hints and, reveals here and there of what to expect for the future, and most recently, Jon and Dave had something very specific to say about the Ahsoka series and how it actually connects to many of the leaks that we have been talking about, and how it also alludes to something very much grand in the Ahsoka series. So let's tap right into all of this. Now, with, of course, all of that being done and said, as of now, George Lucas is actively helping out both Favreau and Filoni with the future of the franchise in order to turn things around for the better. Now, it's noted that currently both Favreau and Filoni are getting ready to make some big changes to actually tie everything into the Star Wars universe. Recently, both Favreau and Filoni had something special to say to the fans by teasing the following of what's to come. Filoni went on to tease this to the fandom. When we were developing Star Wars Ahsoka, which we are done filming right now, we knew that we had to achieve something that was never done before in live action. What I will promise the fans is what we are going to offer an amazing series, but not just that it will not only be very strong with the Force, but that it will be the very moment in which it will have bending material, time-bending material that is going to leave fans on the edge of their seats. I will hint that something big we did in Rebels Season 4 will have a huge moment or three in the Ahsoka show, and that it's going to involve the Skywalkers and how the concept of time is going to be involved along with it all. I want to just stop right here for a second, because this is probably the most obvious and direct hint that Filoni has given us. Number one, he says that we might be visiting this time-bending situation 1 to 3 times in the Ahsoka show. This is absolutely alluding to the World Between Worlds, and mind you, we already have talked about how the WBW is going to be a big deal, more so in Ahsoka Season 2 than it will be in Season 1. Season 1 is going to be a bit of a prelude to what the WBW is going to actually present itself as. And Jon and Dave have been pitching the second season of Ahsoka to the Disney executives, the higher-ups, and they're loving it so far. They love what they are hearing from Jon and Dave, and they are totally down from making Ahsoka into a limited series into a multi-season show this time around, so that's good news. Now, that brings us to the biggest question of all. Exactly what kind of time-bending material are we going to be getting in the Ahsoka series? Well, that, of course, we already talked about how Ahsoka is going to be interacting with the past version of Anakin Skywalker on Mustafar to an extent, as well as interacting with younger versions of herself to an extent as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later. There's a lot of complexities coming out of this because there's so many unknown pieces of lore with the World Between Worlds. We still don't quite know exactly what the limitations of this realm are, how it truly works, what it could become, and what it used to be. where it originated from. All these different questions have been, not answered to us, and that's exactly what Jon and Dave want to do in the second season of Ahsoka. So moving on, Favreau then stepped in to state the following. Yeah, so as Dave said there, we wanted to assure fans that this is a different style for a Star Wars series. This is all catered to those who love that deep, rich lore material that you see in Rebels or Clone Wars. We are shifting from the Mandalorian stuff and focusing on hardcore Jedi and dark side aspects related to the series that is truly going to reshape how you see the prequel trilogy movies that George provided us. Separate from what Jon stated here, this all alludes to the World Between Worlds without a doubt, where Ahsoka is set to fight Anakin on Mustafar and a whole lot more to come. Now, I want to be very specific about that scene that is making its way into the Ahsoka show. It's not that Ahsoka is going to rewrite history. What is going to happen is that Ahsoka is basically going to try to reform Anakin before he goes down the further path to becoming Darth Vader, only to find out that there is literally nothing that she can do. She takes Kenobi's place momentarily, but that all gets reverted again, and it just remains as is. Realizing that she cannot change somebody like Anakin's fate. Not all things can be changed in the WBW is basically what the scene is meant to represent. And that, once again, is kind of showing you how the WBW works. It's showing you that it does have limitations, it doesn't work on everything, you cannot change the past, all the time at least, and it has to have a specific purpose. Now, obviously, the realm here, there are a lot of rules, and I think that's why we had a moment where Ezra Bridger was able to save Ahsoka Tano, because the overall purpose of that may very well have been that Vader has to survive to eventually overthrow the Sith, that of course being Palpatine, and throwing him down that reactor on the second Death Star. That could have very well been why the WBW allowed Ezra to take Ahsoka Tano through that portal and literally time bend. Technically speaking, of course, right? So there's a lot of great things like that are coming out of this. And Jon and Dave are just, really changing the game here. And I think I really have to give them a lot of credit for listening to the fans. They listened to the fans who really spoke up and said, we want to see the World Between Worlds. We want to see everything that we saw in Rebels and or Clone Wars with the Jedi stuff, and that is coming in live action. That is actually going to become a very big deal, and they want to make sure that Ahsoka is not going to be just a limited series. Jon and Dave are fighting to make this a multi-season show, and that is great news in my book. So, like I say, some fans may not like the WBW because they don't like time travel, they don't like time bending or time warping or anything like that, but just realize that nothing is going to be changed, at least in this one situation. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.